Well, happy Labor Day, everyone. We are in a brand new month of September, and we're in a brand new series. And my series this month is our ever-changing world. And we will be looking at the idea of alchemy, the historic and traditional and mystical idea of alchemy, which is really changing one thing into another. Changing one thing into another. We'll be talking this month about changing chaos to order, which we're working on today, resistance to allowing, separation to harmony, and fear to love. So that's going to be our exploration for the month of September. And we're also going to discover how we can use these universal truths and proven principles of the science of mind to become that alchemist within our own lives. Within our own lives. So today my talk is changing chaos to order, and we've had lots of fun. I've been having fun all week with that idea, and of course this morning we've had a little fun with it also as we've been playing with some technological challenges. So chaos to order. Life sometimes feels like it is a little chaotic for us, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like it's necessarily going our way. It may feel a little confusing. But yet if we look at even the biology of our own bodies, or the universal flow of seasons. We know the sun's going to rise. We know it's going to set later this afternoon. We know that seasons change and football starts, right? I mean, there's just this order that happens. And we know within our own bodies the way that our hearts pump and oxygen is used in our bodies and the systems and processes and things that work with us. There's order there. There's order in the universe. When we see our planets that stay put, we can navigate by the stars because we know where they are. There's order. But what happens to us? I don't know about you, but sometimes my life doesn't feel very ordered. It feels a little bit chaotic. It feels a little bit confusing. Anybody else have that fun? Or is it just me, right? Y'all tell me this all the time. It's just me, right? Nah, I know better. I know better. So we're going to look at some of the ways that we create, perhaps, disorder and confusion in our lives. And also we want to look at how we might be able to transcend and transform those ideas. Now, I like both of those words. We're going to talk about those a little bit more a little bit later on. So, but when we look at chaos, we talk about confusion, and then we look at confusion as really a combination of root words that mean mixing together things that don't belong together. Now, I find that interesting because usually when I'm feeling confused, I want to understand. I want clarity. Right? Isn't that our prayer? I need clarity. I need to understand because I'm feeling confused. But this little book called God's Dictionary, it's a wonderful little book, it says that a state of confusion can be a way of hanging out in, I don't know. I don't know. Which is really code for, I do know, but I don't want to know. That I know. What I know. Confusion can be a way of avoiding responsibility and having to make decisions, can't it? I'm confused. I just don't know what to do right now, so I'm not going to do anything. Yeah, it can be a way of doing that, and usually, don't we know? I mean, isn't there a place within us that really knows what it is we need to do? We just don't want to. Yet. Not ready. Yet. Not ready. Yet. So if confusion in this definition is putting two things together that don't go together, what about our thoughts? What about our thinking? When we have thoughts and actions maybe that don't go together. You know, we talk about walking our talk around here. Well, if we're saying one thing and doing something else, if our actions are different from what we're professing and talking about, that can be the case, can't it? That we now have confusion because we're not in alignment with that which we're speaking. We're not in alignment with our thinking and our actions. One of the frustrations that I frequently see in my counseling work and my prayer work with folks is that we have these desires. I really want to manifest whatever it might be. And yet, there's a belief that we can't achieve it, accomplish it, or have it. And that belief might be a little buried, it might be a little deep, but we've got confusing thoughts then, don't we? Because we're working really hard at our manifestation, at our creation, at our desire, at this thing that we think that we want, and yet there's some BS in the way. That belief system, right? And we may or may not know what that belief system is. And that's the part about transcending, getting over that belief system, rising above it, getting up into that spiritual realm of consciousness that we know that we are whole, perfect, and complete and can create. But that's where we get into confusion. I think I want this. I know I want this, and I'm working really hard to get it, but it's not coming. It's not coming. And we get those wonky manifestations that I talk about sometimes, like, well, that's not exactly what I was trying to manifest. Why does it look like that? Why is it showing up like that? Well, in reality, they're not wonky, are they? Because the law just says yes. And we're the common denominator in that places into law that desire along with the BS. So what we see then is the mirrored back to us, the condition that has as part of it, the cause, has part of it our belief system. And that's what we begin to see mirrored back. It's a wonderful system, really, if you think about it, because whatever we're believing is just being shown right back to us. It's a wonderful, wonderful system. Let me give you an example. I was speaking with a friend recently who has, excuse me, ended a relationship for about the 5th time. It's been a long-term, many, many years, decades perhaps, relationship, and they have ended it. And we were talking on the phone, and she said, "Can you hang on just a second? He's here." And I thought, oh, okay, maybe picking up something or whatever. And she comes back to the phone, and she goes, "Okay, no, he's doing some work around my house for me." Okay. Conversation goes on, and she says at the end when we're talking about our prayer requests and so forth, she says, "My prayer is for having sacred boundaries and making good decisions." And I just couldn't help myself. I said, "Help me understand how having him work on your home is setting sacred boundaries and making good decisions." And I could feel the silence on the other end of the phone. Because that's the misalignment, isn't it? Here she is praying about and has a desire for sacred boundaries, good decisions, prayer request around that. And yet she has invited into her life something that violates that already. Violates that already. Do we ever do that? You know anybody that's ever done that? And it seems so justified in the moment, doesn't it? It makes so much sense. He knows my house. He knows what's wrong with it. He can redo those repairs. He's so handy. He'll save me some money. We justify. And then we wonder why we're having in other areas of our lives these sacred boundaries being blown through and our good decisions not turning out so good. Right? Yeah. Mixing two thoughts or thoughts and actions that don't go together equals confusion, resulting in chaos. Resulting in chaos. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, writes in The Science of Mind, mental conflicts cause confusion. He's a brilliant man. And the thoughts we have to heal are not the effect. We get caught up in trying to heal the effect, that temporary condition that's going on outside of us. We're working on that as opposed to going back to healing the thoughts of confusion that created it in the first place. We got to go back to cause. We've got to work on the causes and not these temporary effects that are around us. You know, when I began to understand in my life the temporary nature of everything that's in it, life began to unfold in different ways for me. Because it is all, including me. I'm temporary. I'm here for a nanosecond on this planet in the big scheme of life. And if I look around at things in my life that have gone before, in my 50 plus years, you know, a lot of things have disappeared. And I know that that's just how life works. And that's the beauty of us understanding the creative process that we can use in our life to create anew, create afresh, is recognizing the temporary nature of what's here already. Good, bad, indifferent. It's all temporary. It's all temporary. So where are we confused today? Is there a part of our life that feels chaotic? Feels confused? Feels like it's not just going our way? Something in our life we've been working on for years? Yeah, I think we've all got places like that in our life. It's like, you know, it's just not manifesting for me. It's just not manifesting. One of the keys in this is to check into our emotions. We have an emotional guidance system within us. That's really the purpose of our emotions, I think, is to give us an early warning about what's going on, to check into our beliefs. Why am I angry? Why am I frustrated? Why am I sad? What is this telling me about this situation? It's a guidance system for us to check in with ourselves to really begin to understand those beliefs that we have. Because again, we usually know that place within us, that higher wisdom, that higher self, it knows. We know. In our humanness, sometimes we're just not willing to take the steps and the actions necessary to implement. Just not ready yet. And that's okay, as long as we recognize it. As long as we recognize it. There is a wonderful, wonderful passage in the Science of Mind textbook that I have read over the years many, many times because it's just, to me, it's just got so much powerful, meaty stuff in it. And it's on page 187, and it's called Never Limit Your View of Life. Never limit your view of life. And it's in the chapter on causes and conditions. And Holmes tells us to not limit our perspective of life by any past experience. Now that can be 20 years ago, yesterday, or when you walked in this room today. Because we're in the now, and that's gone. We're in the now, the past is gone. We're in the now, the past is gone. So what he's saying is that whatever has happened should not limit us going forward. We are evolutionary beings. To not limit ourselves by anything that's happened in any past moment, year, lifetime. He tells us that it's not a question of failing or succeeding, but of sticking to an idea until it becomes a tangible reality. Do we have that kind of perseverance? To stick with it until it becomes a tangible reality? Or do we get distracted? I've admitted many times up here how I get distracted and chase things through the internet very frequently. Squirrel, let's go look at this. Oh, the squirrel, let's go look at that. This is interesting. I'd like to learn about that. Meanwhile, distracted from my purpose, distracted from the reason I went there in the first place. And I think we're all capable of that because we're just so interested in so many things. But what he's suggesting to us here is that it's just a matter of staying with it, sticking with our desire until it's a tangible reality to us. He goes on to tell us to pay no attention to what happens in the objective world. And we've heard that before, and again, it's that temporary nature of what's around us. Pay no attention to what happens in the objective world. Now, this reminded me, as I was writing this, of our exploration of the Wizard of Oz movie. Remember that last summer, how much fun we had? And when our heroes go and see the great and powerful Oz, and they're trembling because they've been on this long journey, and they've been believing the whole time the wizard is going to give them the gifts that they need. Dorothy goes home, and we get the heart and the brain and the courage. And yet they get there, and what happens? Our little Toto grabs the curtain and pulls it back. And the wizard says that classic line, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Right? But in that moment, our heroes doubt. They doubt. Here they've come on this long and arduous journey, and they believed the whole time that the wizard was going to give them the gifts that they sought, and now they doubt. It's just a man. They didn't hold to their belief. They believed in what they saw. They were distracted by what they saw in the world of effects, that they were not going to get their gifts. But in the end, we know they did, right? Because even though he was just a man and not a wizard, he was still able to deliver, to be the conduit through which their gifts came. So we've got to not let ourselves get distracted by those types of things. When they show up and we go, wow, that doesn't look like I thought it needed to look, not give up, not be distracted. Okay, that's not it. I have to stay with the vision. I have to stay with my dream. We can invest in temporary conditions. We cannot invest in temporary conditions. We must trust in God and the infallible demonstration of the law of mind. Infallible demonstration of the law of mind. Now, Holmes has a very interesting way with words, writing in the 1920s and 30s as he did. And this next passage I've played with over the years, but I think it's applicable to what we're talking about today. He says, we interpret causes by conditions only as we realize that a condition must partake of the nature of its cause. Sounds like a professor, doesn't it? Basically what we're saying, and I can really cut this down to the bottom line for anybody that's been around computers, garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, we've all heard that saying. But like I was saying earlier, causes, our beliefs are the cause back of the manifestation. And then what gets reflected back to us in the conditions that we see around us have within them that cause. It's just part of it. Just like we are manifestations of spirit, of source energy, of God, we have that within us because we are manifestations of it. That is the cause. So we are that which it is. And the same thing with our manifestations. What is reflected back to us is part of what our beliefs are. So if we're looking around our life and going, ew, I don't like that. I don't like that. Well, then we need to look at those beliefs back of it, don't we? And start to go, what is this about? What is this about? An interesting example, if we think about career, let's think about manifesting career. That's our goal, that's our dream. We either don't have a job we like, don't have a job at all, but that's what we're seeking to have revealed in our life, manifested in our life is a career. So that's our ideal. Well, that's what we're focused on. Until what? We start having these thoughts. I don't have time to go find a new job. I don't have the skills. I don't have the education. They're not going to give me as much money. They're not going to give me the benefits. What if I have to drive further than I do now? What if, right? All those thoughts start to come in there, don't they? All those fears. That's the beliefs. But we say we want this. How can we ever manifest this when all this stuff's going on? Can we see how that creates the confusion of thoughts? Because we're putting two things that do not go together. This new wonderful job with all of the ideals and expectations that we want to seek in that of being financially rewarded, being appreciated, of contributing and creating and giving our talents and skills to something of benefit to the planet. All of those things that we say we seek, boom. Our belief system comes in and submarines it, doesn't it? So ends up we get a manifestation of a job where we're not appreciated. We don't make the salary. We're told we don't have the education or the training, or you can't do that job, or you can't get that promotion. It's beliefs. It's beliefs. Like my friend's example with her ex-boyfriend. It's the beliefs under there that are creating the chaos for us. So it's staying focused and pure on that, so that what we're depositing into the universal mind, into universal law, which is unconditioned and only says yes, what we're depositing there is that pure ideal What's the highest ideal of my life? That's what we're placing into the law of mind. That's what we're placing. So talking about that idea of transcending, climbing over the old beliefs. Transcend, go over the old beliefs. Let them dissolve back into nothingness. And then transform those old ideas into new ones, becoming that alchemist of our lives, transforming those ideas, those beliefs, into something that serves our vision, like we talked last week, serves our mission in life. That's why I think it's really important to have a vision and mission for our own lives, is so that we can be sure that we're in alignment with it and balance those decisions against it. Now, we've talked recently about the idea of releasing clutter, haven't we? And clutter is a form of confusion and chaos. Would you agree? It's an outward expression of that in our lives. Holmes says it's necessary that we release all thoughts as well as things that clutter up our lives. So release thoughts and things that clutter up our lives. Now, I've shared with you some in the past about my hamster wheel that gets going in my head with thoughts that just keep going around and around and around, and they don't go anywhere. They just annoy me. So I have a new affirmation I'm using. You cannot take up any more room in the real estate of my mind. No more room in the real estate of my mind. You can't take up any more real estate. So that's how I'm starting to move that away and starting to get myself into alignment with certain areas of my life that I'm working on manifestations for. So getting rid of those cluttered thoughts that don't serve the vision and dream. Now, Holmes uses examples of the human body, and I love his language. He says, the fearlessness of the organs in the way they take only what is necessary to their sustenance and well-being and release what is not needed through the process of assimilation, elimination, and circulation. Now, I have to believe that had to be some popular language back in his day, because he talks a lot about those three things. And I want to look at this on how maybe we can use this example within our own body. We know our bodies pretty well and kind of know how they operate, and about how we can find order in the divinity of our outward experience. So the first one is assimilation. Now, that's an interesting word. Most of you have probably heard of assimilation as it relates to foreign nationals coming to a different country, and they're expected to assimilate into their new home country, right? We've all heard that. But whether we're talking about ideas or nutrients, assimilation is the act of taking something in and absorbing it fully. And it's interesting that Holmes uses the word embody. If you read The Science of Mind, or you probably heard me talk at all, you know I use that word along with him, that embody. And that means putting it on, wearing it, internalizing it, becoming it, to where you live from that place of it. And that would be the Science of Mind teaching. And we have come together here as a community of Scottsdale Center for Spiritual Living and assimilating the ideas of the Science of Mind, the idea of one, the idea of wholeness, the idea of community. And it's not only about Scottsdale CSL, because our mission is that we create a world that works for all. And that's part of assimilation also, isn't it? Because in reality, it's the spiritual reality that we are all absorbing and being one in this great family of humanity. That's the assimilation, is that we're all one and individualized and unique in that expression. Just like we talk about that we are individualized and unique expressions of spirit, as is everyone on this planet, we can all be individuals on our planet and still be assimilated into the one. To me, that's what this is talking about. He talks about elimination. Now, where would we be without elimination in our personal selves and in our world? We'd probably be congested. We see this in the idea of hoarding. We've also probably seen the TV shows about hoarding. And the organs of the body, what if the stomach hoarded food? We'd become toxic pretty quick, wouldn't we? Yeah, we become toxic pretty quick. And our bodies would shut down. So this idea of elimination of things that no longer serve us, things that are not supporting us, is key to a healthy life in many, many levels. Many, many levels. We all heard last week about, or a couple weeks ago, I guess, when Lynn was sharing with us his powerful demonstration of releasing clutter in his life through working with the support of our Treat and Move Your Feet group. And I heard from many of you that you were inspired by his conversation about that, and that many of you went home and did likewise, and did some decluttering of your own lives and drawers and closets and so forth. So decluttering is a very powerful spiritual tool, is it not? To clear the way, to make way. And finally, we have circulation. Again, with the organs. What if the heart hoarded blood and refused to circulate it? Or the lungs refused to circulate oxygen? Imagine how we would be. Our systems would shut down quickly. So I have to ask, what about life? What are we not circulating in our life? Love, friendship, grace, appreciation, financial good, kindness, compassion. What are we not circulating? The law of circulation is recognized not only in the science of mind, but it's a universal truth, is it not? We see it everywhere. And the law of circulation states that all things in the universe are always flowing in circulation, but at an ever-expanding rate. What you give to one person, you will receive from a different source. And it may be in a different form. But that's how circulation works. So you don't have to give with any expectation of receiving back from the same person. Isn't that freeing? That really is a freeing thought. But knowing that it's definitely going to come back to you multiplied from other sources. It works according to the law of cause and effect, where the universe always mirrors back to you exactly who and what you do. So that's some of the power within our Money Finders program that we have here that we talk about each week, is that this is an opportunity for us as community to be aware and focus on where it starts off basically with where money shows up in our life, unexpected income. But then it goes into unexpected value, doesn't it, for those of you participating? We begin to recognize value that comes with it. We go to lunch with someone, they buy our lunch, but it becomes about that experience of sharing time with lunch more so than the money value of the lunch that was purchased. Or going to coffee with someone and sharing ideas, and they pick up the coffee. Sure, there's a $5 gift in that, but the gift of the conversation, the gift of the sharing of the ideas, that's where the value becomes. And then we see that begin to get circulated in our life, not only in the financial piece of it, but in that bigger piece of sharing of ideas and sharing of time and sharing of kindness and sharing of compassion. That's how that program works. And as I announced last week, thanks to Renee, you as a community since April have created $30,000 in additional income in your lives. That's amazing in that limited amount of time. And we're just grateful to be a benefactor of that circulation of 10% into this community, but it doesn't have to be this community. I'm very clear on that. It can be any place that you feel you're spiritually fed. The benefit to doing it here is that we're keeping a record of it so everybody gets to share in it. That's the fun thing. That's the fun part of it, is that we can see the demonstration because of the record keeping. So congratulations to everyone that's playing with that program. Can't wait to see what continues to happen with it. So Holmes wraps up that section on 187 about never limiting our life with, during the process of demonstrating, many things may happen that appear to be destructive. Anybody been there? Oh my gosh, my life is falling apart in the midst of creation. Remember the Big Bang Theory? There was a lot of craziness that happened in the beginning of that, right? Before things begin to cool down and settle down a little bit. So sometimes, he says, it may appear to be destructive. We may pass through good fortune and bad, but if we come to the point where we are not disturbed by things, we have found the secret. We have found the secret. We've been told to judge not according to appearances, and remembering that things that are seen are not made of things that do appear. If we can judge in this manner, if we can remember this, he says, out of any chaos, we can produce harmony. We can produce harmony. And that's pretty powerful. So what are some ways that we can practice these principles of the science of mind to change chaos into order and create this harmony that he's talking about? Let's look at our practicing the principles this week. And just as a reminder, we'll leave this slide up at the end of service for you. Number 1, confusion can be a way of avoiding responsibility. Confusion can be a way of avoiding responsibility. So I would invite you, the next time you think you're confused about something, take a minute and separate those thoughts. Figure out where that confusion is and separate those thoughts that don't go together and find the pure thought within it that you truly want to focus on, and don't give any real estate value to the other ones. Let them go away. Let them go away. Ask yourself, how am I pouring two things together that don't go together? How am I not walking my talk? How am I doing something in my life? How am I inviting my ex back into my house to do work for me when I'm saying I'm setting healthy boundaries? How am I creating my new career when I don't believe that I've got the skills and talents to compete in the marketplace? Okay? It's getting into alignment there with that confusion. Number 2, do not be disturbed by the man behind the curtain. Stay with the one. Stay focused. Who's that guy that does the commercials? I'm not always something. It's him. Yeah, stay with the one, my friend. Stay with the one. Don't get distracted by those temporary conditions of the world around us. It's easy, particularly now in this lovely election season, to get distracted, isn't it? By everything that's going around and all the talking heads and all the media and all the different opinions and every oh my gosh. And the fear. Oh, if this one gets elected, that's going to happen. If this one gets elected, that's going to happen. Oh my gosh, if this one... Stay with the one. It's all temporary. Stay focused on what you believe. And I don't care what your politics is. Stay focused on what you believe. That's what's important. That's what's important. Number 3, release all thoughts as well as things that clutter our lives. That clutter our lives. Many of you know I've gone through this lovely downsizing. I'm still decluttering. I'm still in the process of it. I got grief last week from our board members because my garage is still a disaster, but it's too hot, Joe. I will get in there when the weather cools off and we'll get it fixed up. But yes, clutter in our lives, clutter in our minds. That drawer that we've got in the kitchen that's got all that junk in it. Declutter. Declutter. Assimilate, eliminate, and circulate. It applies not only to our physical bodies and well-being, it applies to our surroundings, our relationships, our families. It applies everywhere, doesn't it? And then finally, spiritual practices, my friends. Spiritual practices. Use meditation and affirmative prayer as the highly effective tools of alchemy in your life that they are. Alchemy was about what? Changing lead to gold. And that's what everybody believed that they were going to do. But if we really look at that from the spiritual sense, if we can change these leaden thoughts that we have that weigh us down, hold us back, don't support us, into gold, then we can begin to live the life that we desire, and we will be rich and rewarded for it as we transform lead to gold in our thoughts. So I want to wrap up today with a quote by William Shakespeare, who says, "You are an alchemist. Make gold of it. Make gold of that. You're each one gold already." Expressions of spirit. Expressions of light. Let it shine. Please join me as we anchor this in prayer today. How very good it is to recognize that God is all that there is. This is the one power, the one presence that is in, through, and as life. It is love, it is joy, peace, and harmony. It is balance and wisdom, and it is the infinite intelligence that permeates and is all. And I know, claim, and accept that all of that is here now present in, through, and as me, and in, through, and as each one of us, as we have come together here this morning as Scottsdale Center for Spiritual Living, come together in the one, in the remembrance of who and what we are as divine lights of the one, of Source, of Spirit of God, in expression, in form, made unique in that expression through the gifts and the talents that each of us possesses and have come here to share, have come here to be. And so this day I speak my word for and about each one of us, knowing, claiming, and accepting that whatever is on our heart this day, whatever that desire is made manifest in our lives now, according to our beliefs, according to that which we accept. I know, claim, and accept the healing, the love, the financial abundance, the joy, the connectivity, whatever may be that desire. I know that it's already done in the mind of God, in the one. And how very grateful I am for this knowing, grateful for the manifestation of the prayer, grateful for all that's been shared here this day, grateful for the connectivity of this community. So I just simply release this into the action of law, knowing that it's already done, it's so, there's nothing else to be done, I let it be, and we affirm this together by saying, and so it is.